Before we begin, imagine this. Jungkook arrives in Japan and is treated like absolute royalty. Fans fill the streets, cameras follow his every move, and Hybe becomes the center of global attention. Everything seems perfect. Everything looks like a celebration of his incredible success. But then something happened that nobody was prepared for. While the world was focused on Jungkook's king-like reception, Taehyung shared a message that completely changed the mood among ARMY. What started as a joyful moment suddenly became deeply emotional, and within hours, fans across the world were sharing the same reaction. Many admitted they couldn't stop thinking about it. Others said the message revealed a side of their bond that words could barely explain. Why did Taehyung's message affect so many people? What exactly was said that left fans emotional despite the excitement surrounding Jungkook's trip to Japan? And why are some ARMYs calling it one of the most touching moments they've seen in a long time? Stay until the end, because the full story behind Taehyung's message is far more emotional than anyone expected, and the final detail has fans around the world holding back tears. The images from Japan were everywhere. Every major fan account was sharing them. News outlets were covering them. Fashion pages were analyzing them. The moment Jungkook appeared at Hybe, the internet seemed to stop and watch. People couldn't get enough. The crowds were massive. The cheers were deafening. Every photo looked like something from a movie. Jungkook wasn't simply attending an event. He looked like the center of an entire movement. Fans waiting for hours just to catch a glimpse of him felt rewarded the moment he appeared. Cameras flashed endlessly. Every step he took became a headline. Many fans described the scene using the same word: royalty. It wasn't difficult to understand why. The reception he received in Japan was unlike anything most people experience. The energy surrounding him was overwhelming. Even those who weren't familiar with BTS could immediately tell they were witnessing someone with extraordinary influence. Yet while millions of people celebrated Jungkook's moment, something much quieter was happening in the background. Something that would eventually become the most emotional part of the entire story. At first, nobody noticed. Why would they? The focus was entirely on Japan. Entirely on Jungkook. Entirely on the incredible reception he was receiving. But then fans began sharing something else. A message connected to Taehyung. What happened next surprised everyone. The mood online started changing. Not dramatically. Not immediately. But gradually. A few emotional comments appeared. Then hundreds. Then thousands. People who had spent the entire day celebrating suddenly found themselves reflecting on something deeper. The reason was simple. The message felt personal. In a world where celebrities often communicate through carefully prepared statements, many fans felt that this carried a different kind of emotion. A more genuine one. A more human one. As translations and interpretations spread across social media, reactions became increasingly emotional. Some fans admitted the message made them stop scrolling. Others said they reread it multiple times. Many couldn't explain exactly why it affected them so strongly. They only knew that it did. Perhaps it was the timing. Perhaps it was because Jungkook was receiving so much attention at that exact moment. Or perhaps it was because the message reminded people of something they often forget. Behind the fame, behind the success, behind the sold-out events and global headlines, there were still real emotions, real friendships, real memories. The more people discussed the message, the more emotional the conversation became. Fans began sharing older moments involving Taehyung and Jungkook. Moments from years ago. Moments many people had forgotten. Suddenly, videos that hadn't been watched in months started resurfacing. Old photos returned. Old interviews were revisited. The entire fandom seemed to be looking backward while simultaneously celebrating the present. It created a strange feeling. A mixture of pride and nostalgia. Excitement and emotion. Happiness and longing. And that emotional combination only made Taehyung's message feel even more powerful. Then another detail emerged. A small detail. One that many fans almost missed. Yet once people noticed it, reactions intensified dramatically. The detail wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. In fact, most casual viewers would probably overlook it completely. But longtime fans immediately understood why it mattered. It wasn't what Kim Taehyung said. It was when he said it. The timing seemed almost impossible to ignore. Just as Jungkook was standing at one of the most celebrated moments of his trip, Kim Taehyung's message appeared. That coincidence alone sparked countless discussions. Was it intentional? Was it simply a coincidence? Nobody knew. But the uncertainty only fueled curiosity. Theories spread rapidly. Some believed the timing carried a deeper meaning. Others believed fans were reading too much into it. Yet regardless of where people stood, everyone agreed on one thing. The message had touched people deeply. The emotional reactions continued growing throughout the day. Fan edits began appearing online. Compilation videos followed. Comment sections became filled with personal stories from fans explaining why the moment affected them. Many spoke about growing up alongside BTS. Others spoke about memories connected to Kim Taehyung and Jungkook's journey over the years. For some, the message represented loyalty. For others, it represented support. For many, it simply represented a connection that had survived countless chapters of change. And that was what made the story so compelling. On the surface, it was a story about Jungkook being treated like a king in Japan. But underneath, it had become something far more emotional. A story about memories. A story about timing. A story about a message that arrived exactly when nobody expected it. Yet just when fans thought they understood why the moment had become so emotional, a new piece of information started circulating. Unlike the previous theories, this one came from a source that immediately attracted attention. People rushed to see it. Discussion forums exploded. Social media timelines filled with speculation. Because if the information was true, it could completely change the way fans viewed Kim Taehyung's message. And for the first time since the story began, many people started asking a question nobody had considered before. What if the message wasn't only about the present moment? What if it was connected to something much bigger? Something that had been quietly unfolding long before Jungkook ever arrived in Japan. And if that theory turned out to be correct, the emotional impact of the entire story was about to become even greater than anyone imagined. The new theory spread through the fandom with astonishing speed. At first, only a few people were talking about it. Then hundreds joined the conversation. Then thousands. Before long, it seemed impossible to open any BTS-related discussion without seeing fans debating the same question. What if Kim Taehyung's message carried a meaning that went far beyond what everyone initially assumed? The possibility changed everything. Until that moment, most people believed the emotional reaction came from timing alone. Jungkook was receiving overwhelming love in Japan. Kim Taehyung shared a heartfelt message. Fans became emotional. Simple. Understandable. Natural. But now people were looking at the situation differently. They were no longer focusing on the message itself. They were focusing on what may have inspired it. And that was where things became interesting. As fans revisited old content, a pattern slowly began emerging. Not an obvious one. Not something that could be proven immediately. But enough to capture attention. Many began noticing how often major milestones in Jungkook's career seemed to generate emotional responses from the people closest to him. Not because of success alone, but because those moments represented something much deeper. Growth. Time. Distance. Change. The realization hit hard for many longtime fans. Years had passed incredibly fast. The young artists people first watched years ago had transformed into global icons. Entire eras had come and gone. World tours, albums, awards, historic achievements. Yet despite everything that had changed, certain connections still seemed capable of moving people emotionally. That thought alone caused countless fans to become reflective. The discussions shifted. Less focus on theories. More focus on memories. Social media became flooded with throwback moments. Old videos resurfaced. Forgotten interviews reappeared. Rare photographs began circulating once again. People weren't just talking about Japan anymore. They were talking about years of history, years of shared experiences, years of growth. And somewhere in the middle of those conversations, another unexpected detail appeared. This one was different, much different. Unlike previous theories, it wasn't based on interpretation. It wasn't based on assumptions. It was based on something fans could actually see. The moment began spreading rapidly. A clip. Short. Simple. Easy to miss. Yet once people connected it to the current situation, reactions exploded. The clip itself wasn't dramatic. No shocking statement. No major revelation. Nothing that would immediately grab headlines. And perhaps that was exactly why it affected people so much. Because it felt real. Authentic. Unfiltered. Fans started comparing the emotions they felt watching the clip to the emotions surrounding Kim Taehyung's recent message. The similarities were difficult to ignore. Suddenly, the story felt larger than a single event. Larger than CK Haryuku. Larger than Japan. Larger than one message. It became a story about moments that stay with people long after they happen. Moments that gain new meaning as time passes. Moments that seem ordinary when they occur but become unforgettable years later. As this realization spread, emotional reactions intensified once again. Many fans admitted they weren't expecting to feel so emotional about what had originally seemed like a simple event appearance. Others said the situation reminded them why they became fans in the first place. Not because of headlines. Not because of records. Not because of fame. But because of the genuine human moments hidden beneath all of it. Meanwhile, Jungkook's appearance in Japan continued dominating media coverage. New photos emerged daily. New videos circulated online. New perspectives from attendees appeared. Each one reinforced the same conclusion. His influence remained extraordinary. His popularity remained undeniable. And the reception he received continued to amaze people around the world. Yet, strangely enough, the more successful the event appeared, the more emotional the surrounding conversation became. It was almost as if fans were experiencing two stories at the same time. One story celebrated Jungkook's incredible impact. The other explored the emotions sparked by Kim Taehyung's message. Together, they created something nobody expected. Something far more memorable than a typical appearance. Then came the moment that changed everything. Late into the ongoing discussions, a fan discovered a detail hidden within the timeline itself. Not in a video. Not in a photograph. Not in an interview. In the timeline. At first, almost nobody paid attention. The observation seemed insignificant. Just another theory among thousands. But within hours, people started noticing something surprising. The timeline actually fit. Almost perfectly. The more fans examined it, the more intriguing it became. Suddenly, events that appeared unrelated started connecting. Separate moments began forming a larger picture. Questions that had remained unanswered suddenly seemed closer to resolution. And for the first time since this entire story began, some fans believed they were approaching the truth. A truth that might finally explain why Kim Taehyung's message felt so emotional. Why the timing seemed so meaningful. And why millions of people around the world reacted so strongly to something that appeared so simple on the surface. But just when the pieces seemed ready to come together, a completely unexpected development surfaced. A development connected to someone who had remained silent the entire time. Someone whose involvement nobody anticipated. And the moment that person entered the story, every existing theory was thrown into doubt once again. The silence was what made people pay attention. For days, fans had analyzed every possible angle of the story. They had discussed Jungkook's royal reception in Japan. They had examined Kim Taehyung's emotional message. They had revisited years of memories, searching for clues that could explain why the moment felt so significant. Yet amid all the noise, one thing remained unchanged. Nobody directly involved had offered any further explanation. That silence became its own mystery. The more people waited, the more emotional the conversation became. Some fans believed there was nothing more to uncover. Others were convinced the biggest piece of the story had not yet surfaced. As debates continued, something unexpected happened. A longtime fan account posted a detailed timeline connecting events from several different periods. At first, the post attracted only modest attention. Then people started reading it. Really reading it. Within hours, screenshots of the timeline were spreading everywhere. Not because it contained shocking information, but because it highlighted something many fans had never fully considered before.
Time.
The timeline showed just how much had changed. Years ago, Jungkook was often viewed as the youngest member still discovering his path. Now he was standing in Japan, receiving a level of attention reserved for only the biggest global stars. The transformation was undeniable. The journey was extraordinary. And for many fans, seeing that progression laid out so clearly became emotional. Suddenly, Taehyung's message seemed different. Not sad, not dramatic, but reflective, as if it carried the weight of years rather than a single moment. That realization spread rapidly. People began revisiting old footage with new eyes. Moments that once seemed ordinary now felt meaningful.